The great Colin Cowherd has returned, and guess what? He's hyping our boys up. We're going to be talking about what Colin had to say today on Seahawks Today. I'm your host, Will Ortner, and we're also going to give a little bit of a Klint Kubiak update and what's going on with some NFL head coach vacancies before we really get back to focused on what's more important of that, of course, is the NFC Championship game. Now, what Colin had to say when it came to what the Seahawks are doing in the NFL, I was pretty darn impressed, and it stopped me in my tracks when I saw this quote on social media. Colin Cowherd said, "It is time for a reality check for the entire NFL. The Seattle Seahawks are indisputably the best team left." Well, that makes me feel pretty damn good, Colin. I'll tell you that right now. And for Cowherd to come out and back the Seahawks, I don't think it's that surprising. One, I think he's always been a big Sam Darnold believer. He's always been a big Mike McDonald guy, but he's also been someone who is from the area, right? He went to college at Eastern Washington University. He is a guy who grew up here. He worked for a long time in Portland before the Herd ended up going over to ESPN and now Fox and doing the whole thing. But I'll tell you what, this is why he's my GOAT, because Colin Cowherd understands football. And I understand that he's got some takes every now and again that, look, they're a little bit outlandish. Being a backwards hat guy is ridiculous. But to look at what Seattle has done week in and week out and understand just why they are so good, that takes someone who does understand the game and does understand what's going on in the real world. And that's why Colin Cowherd looked at the Seahawks and he said they are the team to beat. Is Cowherd right about the Seahawks? Are they undisputably the best team in the National Football League? Let me know down below in the comment section. Yes or no. Do you agree with Colin or do you disagree? If you disagree, you better let me know why down below in the comments. So why was Cowherd so high on the Seahawks? There's a couple of different reasons. He talked a little bit about Sam Darnold and some of his turnover issues, but I do think it is important to note that he said, while Arnold has all these turnover issues, Seattle still wins a lot of football games. But the big stat that he really leaned heavily on was this one about Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan has been the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers for 163 games. In those 163 games, he's lost by 7 points just 4 times, where his team did not score 7 points or more. 2 of them happened in the last 3 weeks, and that was to this Seattle Seahawks team. I understand how beat up that 49ers team was. They still got dominated by the Seahawks on week 18 and then in the divisional round. Cowherd went on and on to talk about this pass rush from the Seahawks, and it's smart that Cowherd did that because he understands that football games are won in the trenches. And if games are won in the trenches, the team with the best defensive line unit, well, hell, they better be pretty damn good. When we take a deeper dive onto some of the big cats in the interior, well, I'm going to look specifically at Big Cat and what he's been doing as a hybrid defensive tackle, defensive end type of a player. Just getting into the backfield constantly, getting a lot of TFLs in the run game, but also getting into the backfield and causing havoc, getting big sacks in the passing game. Had a big sack against Brock Purdy. When you look at Byron Murphy and everything that he has done this year, he is unblockable. I can't tell you how many times I turned on highlights from that San Francisco 49ers game where I saw Murphy getting double teamed by the San Francisco 49ers, and he was tossing offensive linemen, 300-pounders, around like they were rag dolls. Oh, by the way, your nose guard has 7 sacks on the year. Name another nose guard that has 7 sacks on the year. The fact that Byron Murphy isn't an all-pro is absolutely disgusting and malpractice by the National Football League. I'll tell you right now, Colin Cowherd would not have allowed that to happen. DeMarcus Lawrence. He might be the best free agent signing on the defensive line since Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill, and I think there's a fair argument that he is better than them, right? This single season, he has been getting in the backfield. He gets tackles for loss. I can't tell you how many. Look, he has 3 forced fumbles on the screen. I think it's more than that. How many times has he been in the backfield and forced quarterbacks to throw the football away that led to interceptions? The amount of turnovers that he has direct links to, it's staggering. and he's still getting big-time sacks. And we didn't even talk about Uchenna Nwosu, who has had another fantastic year, although it has dipped off a little bit lately. This pass rush is impeccable. Mike Macdonald gives them the keys to beat the offensive line on the opposing team, and they do it time in and time again. This group is special, and it's what the foundation of this defense is built on. And it's why you're seeing Ernest Jones in that linebacking core, Drake Thomas, start to make big plays. It's why you're seeing the safeties, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Nick Eamon-Wari. You're seeing corners, Devin Witherspoon, Reek Woolen. This is why you're seeing this group be able to do everything that they can, and Colin was the one who was pointing it out today on The Herd. He also loves how young this team is. This is a team that this is only the beginning for, because they're only going to get better. Now, yes, Leonard Williams is an elder statesman. Yes, a guy like a DeMarcus Lawrence is an elder statesman. I'm not going to say that Sam Darnold is young. I'm also not going to say that he is old. But when you look at the players that the Seahawks have that are young stars in this crew, the sky is only going to continue to rise, or I guess the ceiling, I should say. Nick Eamon-Wari is 21 years old. He's only going to get smarter when it comes to what teams are trying to do against him. His football IQ will only grow. JSN, he is only going to get better as he plays that wide receiver position. Gray Zabels, this is his first year. Byron Murphy, we saw the jump from year 1 to year 2. Ernest Jones at 26 and Devin Witherspoon at 25. They are continuing to get better and better for this team. This is the beginning because this crew is young. And some other teams, some other organizations, some other dynasties, you have to take a lump or two. But it doesn't feel like that's what's going to happen to this Seahawks team. It looks like this Seahawks team, as young and as bright and as brash and as boastful as they are going to be able to have the opportunity on Sunday to get an NFC Championship title victory and have a chance, if they win this game, to have a Super Bowl victory. This is just the beginning. This is a team that is building their dynasty, and if they are the best right now, with a lot of cap space, I might add. It's the 4th most cap space going into this 2026 offseason. Seattle is going to have the opportunity to keep all of these players in-house. This is just the beginning, and Cowherd noticed. Now, he did have a slight pivot that, frankly, I'll be honest with you, I didn't necessarily love. But I would say that I've been very impressed with the diagnosis so far that Cowherd has had on this defense and the defensive line specifically. What was the pivot? I'll let you know in just a moment. But before we do that, I need to let you know about the proud sponsor of today's video. And that, of course, is our good friends over at Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. New feature alert! Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. I have a 2-pick power play for the action this weekend. Cooper Kupp, more on his receiving yards. Matthew Stafford, less on his pass yards. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Cowherd's slight pivot that he used was that the Rams were the only team with the potential to beat Seattle. Now, his reasoning for this was, if there was going to be a team that could keep up with Seattle, it was the Rams, not because they had the speed or because they were as young, but because they were smart. They didn't make mistakes. There aren't turnovers. Matthew Stafford has not been sacked yet by the Seattle Seahawks. He has not really turned the ball over. There have not really been turnovers against the Seahawks by the Rams. The Rams, when they've been in close games, for the most part, it's been because of turnovers that they don't really make. When you look at that Chicago game in the other divisional game that was going on in the NFL playoffs, the Rams did not turn the ball over in that game. Chicago was better than LA the entire way, but they had 3 turnovers and the Rams had none. That is why the Rams were able to win, and that is why Cowherd says there's an opportunity for that crew to go away with a victory in Seattle. Now, I disagree with that, but it is a possibility. Field Yates had some stats that Cowherd talked about as well on his show, but in the 2 games that the Rams have played against the Seahawks, the Rams have scored 58 points, the Seahawks have scored 57. The Rams have 830 total yards. The Seahawks have 829. They are about as even can be, but you have to remember that the Seahawks have had a ton of turnovers in those games. So if Seattle can limit the turnovers, we should blow out or at least win comfortably against the Rams. I'm not going to make that claim. This Rams team is very freaking good. They are going to keep this game close. I don't see this game, whoever wins, hopefully it's the Seahawks because I do think they will, is going to win this game by 1 score. It will be within 8 points, no matter who comes away with the victory, barring a crazy end of the game touchdown score. But I think the Seahawks will be good, Cowherd. I don't think that Seattle is going to let someone else come into Lumen Field and get a victory. I don't think you think that either if you're watching Seahawks Today. Seahawks, they're going to come out on top over the Rams, despite Cowherd thinking that the Rams have an opportunity to beat them. Sound off in the comment section right now. What is your favorite all-time Seahawks playoff win? To me, it's super easy. It's probably cliche, but it's the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game beating the San Francisco 49ers. To this day, Richard Sherman telling everybody that that's the result you gonna get when you try him with a sorry-ass receiver. It's just special. It's beautiful. And that was also the first time that we knew what this Legion of Boom team could be, and it was also the first time that we saw a eventual Super Bowl championship team. In fact, it's the only time so far, although I think there's a chance that we could be watching one right now. Let me know your favorite playoff victory down below in the comment section. Okay. Now we are going to pivot over to the Kubiak news. And while there isn't a whole lot of news necessarily dug into Klint Kubiak, there are things going on right now in the National Football League that do kind of tie to him. What do I mean by that? Well, over the weekend, the Atlanta Falcons made their head coaching hire, and they decided that they were going to go with Kevin Stefanski. Now, it makes sense why they'd hire Stefanski. He's a guy who's won Coach of the Year a couple times in the National Football League. While it didn't work out in Cleveland the last couple of years, he's had a lot of success early on in his career over at Cleveland. He does a lot of good things with young QBs. Got the most out of Baker, got the most out of Joe Flacco, although I guess I shouldn't say young QB with Joe Flacco. But Kubiak was a top candidate for that job. In fact, there were a lot of people that thought he was the leading favorite for that job. So it is good news in Seattle that Kubiak did not get that job because it makes it more likely that he will return to Seattle. And I know that there are some complaints right now with some play calling and play decisions that Kubiak has. I have had my complaints for sure. To sit here and say that Kubiak is not a good offensive mind and not a good offensive coach is just silly. He's a good OC. So if you're able to keep your OC, we are able to keep our OC for another year, I feel pretty darn good about that. Now, there are still a couple of landing spots and a couple of teams that want to make a play at him. When you look at a couple of the head coaching openings right now, Buffalo obviously moved on from McDermott yesterday, and Las Vegas, they've had an opening for quite some time. Now, it does look like Kubiak is in the lead to potentially land either one of those spots. Now, Buffalo still has a long way to go, and there are some spots that do actually say that Brian Daboll is more so in the lead than Klint Kubiak. What I will say is this. Keep an eye on those two teams, because if they are going to make a play for Kubiak, I think that they would be able to get him out of Seattle. And I don't want him to leave Seattle. I think that this rushing attack is finally starting to click. I think that Sam Darnold and Kubiak, the more that they work together, the better and better that this squad will be, the better and better this offense will be, and the better and better that these players will be. So ideally, Kubiak will stay in Seattle for at least one more year. But I'll tell you right now, if he's going to go anywhere, my eyes are on Buffalo and my eyes are on Las Vegas. Let me know who you got for this matchup down below in the comment section. Type C for Seahawks, type LAR for the Rams. Let me know who's going to come away with this victory. Very interested to see who it will be. And by interested, of course, you know that it's going to be the Seahawks. It's the Seahawks Today, faithful. If I don't see a ton of C's, I'm going to be very upset. Of course, we're in our sub battle right now with our Rams Report channel. Unfortunately, they are getting some steam. One of the little smaller channels here at Chat Sports, a little engine that could. Do not let them beat us. Come on in and hit that sub button. We are racing towards 81,000 right now. Come on in, hit that sub button. One, because it helps us beat the Rams Report, but it also helps us get even bigger as a channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.